We are live. That's right. It's time for a classic, old-fashioned, old-school Q&A live here on SCW. Myself and NXT are in the house. And as you can see, the main topic that we're going to be covering today is one of your questions already. Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. When is it going to happen? As well as that, we're discussing Bad Blood. Of course, we've got 3 matches announced on Raw, a couple of matches that have potentially been teased for the future as well. Can we talk on the PWI list as well? The top 500 for 2024 for the men has been released. We will feature the top 10. Plus, we have got many already sent in questions from you, the viewing public. So thank you so much for all getting involved. And also, we're going to take some fresh questions from you guys as well. So make sure to hit that like button, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. And a big thank you to everyone that has been supporting this channel as we just hit the milestone of 2,500 subscribers. So big thank you to everyone that has been showing a lot of love and support for this channel. And there will be a small channel update at the end of this video, providing I remember NXT. Please do remind me. But in the meantime, we're going to kick things off by just saying hello to NXT. NXT, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, buddy. Yeah, it's been a busy weekend, and I still haven't finished watching All Out yet. So I've still got 2 hours of that show left to go. But yeah, it's been good.
It's a busy time. Obviously, it took a long time to watch All Out for me as well. This is why there wasn't a review, unfortunately. Just for an awkward period.
Well, for you, yeah, but I honestly thought it wasn't on till Sunday. So it got to Saturday, and I got to Sunday morning, and I'm like, oh, the show was last night. So my calendar's all off the whack, mate. I completely missed it.
There you go. Well, you're catching up now. You're nearly there, which is a good thing. But we'll try and not spoil anything for you from those final couple of matches. So that
I pretty much know the results anyway, so it's fine. I have kids now. I don't spoilers don't bother me anymore because I've gone so long without going to the cinema. Do you know what I mean?
Spoil away, everybody. But we'll get into that first question anyway, which comes from a good friend of the channel, Mikey Wilkes, Kid Wilkes on X. He says, I've missed this so much. Welcome back, Steve. Would you prefer Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa at Bad Blood, Crown Jewel, or Survivor Series? Now, as you can see very quickly, I obviously have tampered a little bit with the thumbnail, as we may remember. I actually put WrestleMania on there as well, because I think certainly that could be an option and a destination point for it. I think we're not kidding ourselves when we can suggest we've got the season premiere SmackDown this upcoming Friday. Obviously, the steel cage match for the World Heavyweight Championship, Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa. I'm assuming that everyone's prediction is that Roman returns during this match. Correct me if I'm wrong, people. But that would be a way that Cody could retain the championship, and we can set something up potentially for Bad Blood, but also, is it going to be for Bad Blood? Is it the fact that it would be Cody and Roman versus the new Bloodline? How long and when is the right time to do Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa, in your opinion?
Dude, I mean, at the minute, I honestly, sure, Bad Blood probably sounds like the right place to do it, but like the way that they're not necessarily dragging it out, but the way it's unfolding, like it could be at any point. Like there's no defined point at when they're going to do each thing. Like we're still waiting for The Rock to come back at some point, so they're going to do Cody Rock. Do you know what I mean? Like it's going to be like in line with the Bloodline story. I have no clue. Like it honestly could be any point. Like most stuff that put out. In fact, everything else you put out, you can kind of work out where they're going. The Bloodline just seems to be the most, I don't know, just uncoordinated story at the minute, because you just don't know what the next beat is going to be, unfortunately. And I suppose it's a good thing. Like we don't know what's coming, but I think like we all suffer from FOMO, and we all want to know what the next plot line is and what the next story beat is. And yeah, I honestly don't have a clue. I mean, dude, they like Bad Blood. Obviously, the name says it itself. It makes sense. Survivor Series, I'm gonna say no, because they're gonna do War Games. I presume that's gonna be something bigger. It's just gonna be a very interesting time between now and Survivor Series on that whole storyline in general, because like you just said, if they're gonna do this cage match on Friday, I hope Cody wins clean. But then again, I suppose if Roman helps, there's always a beat there that they can redo Solo versus Cody again, where he does get a clean win, I suppose. So there's always that. So yeah, I mean, dude, at this point, anywhere in the next 6-7 months, that match could happen.
As Roddy Piper once said, just when you think you got the answers, they change the questions. And I think that's what's beautiful about the storyline of the Bloodline, because once you think you've got it figured out, there's a twist, there's a turn, and all of a sudden, oh, we're thinking we're going in and we're going a different direction. And I think that's what's kept it so exciting for the last few years. Like you say, look, we're wrestling fans. We like to think we're in the know. We like to think we know what's going on. Absolutely. When's the right time? When's the right place? For me, Bad Blood to do that solo match, although it works so beautifully, because if Roman does get involved this Friday, cost Solo Sikoa, it does feel like the right time because it's Bad Blood figuring with this. It's a family feud as well, so it's a good place to do it. I think it would be appropriate. The only problem is, and this is a good time to bring up, this is the match card we've got so far announced after Monday Night Raw. We know we're going to have Hell in a Cell. We've got CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. I'm going to take the question away for the meantime so you can all see the faces there of our superstars, and they'll be competing on Bad Blood. Absolutely, we've got the graphic perfectly for the Hell in a Cell match there for CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. We've got Damien Priest versus Finn Balor. That's not being dragged out to a WrestleMania. It's going to happen at Bad Blood. And of course, we're also going to get Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. Is going to happen one more time. So we know these matches happening so far. Has been teased that we could get Bron Breakker versus Jey Uso, but that's not confirmed as of yet. We also got Sami versus Gunther being planned, it feels, at the moment. I think that's a more likely match to happen. Raw is seemingly PLE heavy at the minute, which makes me think if we get Roman versus Solo at this event, what happens to Cody? Cody doesn't have a match. So if I had to be honest, and I'm very long-winded to get in Wilkshire answer here, I'm afraid, but I think we're building to where Roman and Cody have to work together. I think potentially at Bad Blood to get them both on the card. I think that the Roman versus SIKOA match for the first time could take place at Crown Jewel, because I think War Games is going to feature both Roman and Solo Sikoa. But I do think the ultimate closing destination for this feud with Roman and Solo will go all the way to WrestleMania in Vegas, if I had to predict now.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the most logical storyline. I suppose you're going with maybe Cody and Roman versus Jacob and Solo at Bad Blood, possibly, if they wanted to throw that as a match on there.
They could do, or they could actually remember they have tag team championships and put the GOD for the tag team titles. Not that I necessarily want that.
Cody and Roman as tag team champions. I mean, dude, it's not the first time we haven't seen like Triple H and Austin famously back in the day were tag team champions when they were both heavy rivals with each other. So yeah, it's a possibility. You never put anything past WWE.
You certainly don't indeed. Mikey, hope we've answered that very well for you indeed. That was our main topic of the video, so we took a bit longer on that one there, but we're going to try and get through everyone's questions as efficiently as we can. We've got people in the live chat as well. Don't worry, you're not being ignored. So let's go to you in the meantime, and we will sporadically go backwards and forwards with the pre-asked questions and your questions as well. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. CD and Houses have been waiting for another Q&A. So have we. And we're here. We can bring it to you. It does say it's finally here. Just been a lot been going on with other. There've been so many premium live events going on all across the board. We've had to do prediction shows, reviews. So no, we're finally here now to do a proper Q&A for you once again. Leo has got a question. Says, do you think Liv and Rhea will get a stipulation added for their match of Bad Blood, and what do you think it will be? And will Raquel help Liv retain over Rhea, which is an interesting proposition, because Pierre mentioned this in one of the questions we've not brought up yet, suggesting the idea that Raquel could return to WWE and be Liv and Dom's bodyguard, and also help Liv, being that the way that Liv can retain over Rhea. I think we'll break it down. First off, do we see a stipulation being added?
By the looks of it, I get a feeling Bad Blood is replacing Extreme Rules this year. So
it is, yeah. Last year, where were they for in October last year? Extreme Rules was 2 years ago. The last time that was Bray's return. Last year.
But that's so what was this? What was the pay per view where Triple H had a different stipulation for every match?
That was Extreme Rules. Extreme Rules was 2 years ago, but last year we had Payback in September and Fastlane in October.
Okay, so I'm presuming that he might go with the Extreme Rules way when he does this booking, and I reckon that they probably will end up having stipulations for every single match. It seems like that's the goal for this pay-per-view. You've already got some it's the way that it's supposed to go down, and the whole point of it being Bad Blood. It kind of seems like it fits perfectly if you do it along the Extreme Rules kind of way. Just have a different stipulation for every match. Maybe just have one normal match, and you can kind of get away with 4 other different types of matches. But the thing with that is, though, is if you've already got a Hell in a Cell between Priest and between Punk and Drew, it kind of because like early spoiler warnings. I think Liv retains this. I think that's what the whole goal is, because I think that's what's going to happen. So this, you can do anything. You can do, I don't know, the 7 different match types that are all actually technically a no DQ match. You can do any one of them really, and it all works out the same way. And I predict it already winds up with Liv retaining. So whatever they're going to do, dude, sure, why not add a stipulation? An Atlanta street fight. There you go, because it's in Atlanta.
I like it. I do like the idea of the Atlanta street fight. But I actually don't think they're going to put a stipulation in. I really don't think that's going to happen. I think that they're going to save that for the third match, because I feel that the first match at SummerSlam was where Rhea thought that Dom was in her corner and Dom turned on her. This time she knows the situation. So this is I'm going to get the job done, but they'll find another way, like you said, for Liv to retain. And the third match is where I think that's when you throw all the juicy stipulation that goes on, whether that's at Crown Jewel or whether they stretch it over to Survivor Series. Spoiler alert, I think that it will be probably Crown Jewel, because I think Survivor Series, of course, it's War Games. So I don't think that will be the case. But as for Raquel, this isn't an idea. It's an idea I've heard from a couple of people. And I've got to say, I think it's a very creative idea to bring Raquel back into the mix. Firstly, a lot of history with Liv Morgan, previous women's tag team champions. So that's a great way to bring her back in, because obviously they have worked together before. Raquel has been a big rival of Rhea Ripley in the past, so that helps as well. Rhea is the Diesel, Big Mummy Cool, which helps live with the Shawn Diesel factor. Also is, with Rhea having the size factor, so it cancels that out. It was a funny thing that was going around, actually. I can't remember who did the interview. It was Damien Priest. Apparently they used to outdo one another with who could have the highest heels and look the tallest in NXT, and they're both two tall ladies already, so they always used to try and outdo each other. Just a fun little thing from a Chris Van Vliet interview. But if you take it into account as well, Raquel, obviously we know what she's been suffering, obviously, and why she's not been able to be in the ring for so long. To be coming back as a bodyguard actually means she hasn't got to get in ring all the time. Finds a way to bring her onto TV and ease her back into storytelling. Just do the occasional match, just do the protection side for right now. So for me, do I think it will happen? I don't know is the honest answer, but I've heard it from a couple of sources, and I've got to say, I think it's a fun idea, and it's a great use of Raquel, and it makes this new Judgment Day a bit stronger, because right now, they don't always come out on top, and they've got a 5-on-2 advantage.
Yeah, it's very true. And obviously, the size game always plays into a factor with the Terror Twins against the rest of Judgment Day. So, yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, isn't it like a skin condition or something that's keeping Raquel out? Yeah, so like I said, as long as she's all good with coming back, I don't mind it. Like it's just it's how they do it. And obviously the problem you're going to have is you're going to get a load of people that are going, oh, this is exactly like Mercedes Moné and Camille from AEW, the same sort of female bodyguard for a female superstar role. So I don't know, if they do it, maybe they can put their own spin on it.
We'll have to wait and see how they'll do it, but I'm sure they will put their own spin. It wouldn't be the first and it won't be the last. It's been Shawn and Diesel was the original after all. So, that's why it's always given that a comparison, I guess. I do think Jey Uso will ever win the singles gold, or has that ship sailed at this point. He always seems to come up short in title matches. I think he's coming up short against Braun Breaker.
Yeah, again, early spoiler prediction. I presume Braun's retaining as well. It's all about timing, really, and it's like there's been so many times where it's been the perfect time for someone to win a singles title, and yeah, I imagine at some point down the line he will win a singles title. Whether they decide to, I mean, I presume at some point they're going to put the Usos back together again. They can always just split them back up again and put them on separate Raws when it comes to a draft. So, yeah, I imagine Jey will get a singles run with some title in the future.
Yeah, I imagine at some point in the future. Unfortunately, it just hasn't seemed to align with the stars. It feels like he's been ready. Feels like the merch has been selling, but show he is ready. But unfortunately, I think he was on Raw when Gunther, of course, was the longest IC champion as well. That was went on to WrestleMania, and it's just at the moment the way the champions are aligned, it's hard to find Jey to get that. Maybe when he gets over to say SmackDown, maybe that opportunity can present himself. Obviously, with the OG Bloodline versus the new Bloodline, when eventually that ever does come around. Yeah. Bobby's in house. Thank you, Bobby, for joining us. Hope you're doing well. We've got your pre-asked question in the comments here. We'll be coming to that in a few seconds' time, so don't worry, we'll get to that. But throw in some new ones as well if you want. C Nation Dog, good to see you here. Hope you're doing well. I can't answer too much about this question though. It says, do you think Rich Swann and Casey Navarro will be the tag team representing First Class with AJ Francis as the mouthpiece, or do you see Rich Swann and AJ Francis being the tag team representing First Class, as they have a thing going with Casey Navarro, who competes in the X division? The last I knew was that Rich Swann was getting rehab after the allegations against him. So I'm assuming that at the moment he's not going to be on TV for TNA moving forward. So if that's the case, I imagine it would be Casey Navarro and AJ Francis. Although should he return, I don't know how they would do it. I guess it would be him and Francis, with Navarro being the one as the X Division competitor. But it's hard to tell while Rich Swann is not on TNA TV.
Yeah, I'm back off what you said, dude. Like, I'm not too caught up with TNA in general and the story white tones wise, but yeah, with everything going off of TV, I would imagine not at the minute.
We'll have to wait and see how it will play out. Pierre, we'll get into one of your first questions. It says, War Games this year, I feel like the match we all want is Bloodline versus Bloodline will be an all-time classic. Feels like it's a match certainly we all want, but as I've stated on a couple of shows recently, I don't think that's what we're getting this year. I think that's going to be War Games next year. I'm still of the convinced, and I will say now, I think it's going to be New Bloodline versus Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. And the unique story beat between now and then, first off, if we get a tag team match, for example, Roman and Cody at Bad Blood together, how do they coexist? Obviously, is a story we've seen a lot of times before, but Cody has been almost having people turn him. And also this friction, this trust factor, and the fact that he, was the one that brought Jey Uso to Monday Night Raw. Now he's willing to forgive Roman. KO's going to be questioning why that's the case, which adds more spark. Is he going to turn heel? But he won't. He'll probably find a way to get on board. Randy Orton the same. We lost 18 months of his career due to the OG bloodline. I can see, though, those all taking inside. And I think that's what it's going to lead to later, with Orton being the one to turn heel on Cody Rhodes. But I think that's a bit further down the line. But I think that's currently as well, we can see the likes of Randy Orton and KO finally getting a win over the bloodline. Therefore, they can remove themselves for that part of the story, and we can actually focus on OG bloodline versus new bloodline. But that's my feeling. That's just a prediction from me. NXT, I'll get your thoughts on it before we move on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It almost seems like it's too rushed, and like I'm sure at some point in a press conference somewhere, I remember Triple H saying that this bloodline story can go on for another 2 or 3 years, and I think that is the long-term goal of it. And yeah, I mean, dude, who knows how many more people from the Anoa'i family that they want to bring in? Let's be honest, man. Like, we could end up just having a whole show of Samoan wrestlers, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, hopefully, like I said, with that, and then this plays into the last question. Hopefully, that then gives Jey an opportunity to then win some singles gold. Do you know what I mean? So, pros and cons to both, really. So, yeah, man, you never know. Like I said, I hope it does go that way.
It's too early to tell, but certainly if we do get Bloodline versus Bloodline this year, I won't be complaining. That's all I'll say at this particular point. We're going to go to a OG question that we had in, and I think this one we can do fairly short and sweet. A big thank you on Twitter to ML Fairfield 8. I hope I've got that all right in the compassion, all that together there in the bracket. But who should answer Jordynne Grace's open challenge on NXT this evening? Of course, she'll be defending the TNA Knockouts Championship. We have a whole roster available to us. So if you could pick a name of who you think should be answering that, I suppose not necessarily who you think it will be, but you can do both. Who will it be?
It should be Julia. Let's be honest. It's the fresh new face in. Dude, why not? But they're not going to give Julia a loss on her first match in NXT. Obviously, I know she's going against Chelsea Green. Actually, isn't she? Tonight, in fact, isn't she? So, yeah, I mean, it really should have been Julia. But again, don't want to give her an L on her first night. So, dude, I mean, there's a stack of women. Jada Parker. Why not Jada Parker? Had a good run against Roxanne Perez the other week. Why not give Jada Parker a shout?
I would love Jada Parker. She's one of two names in mind for this answer. For this, Jada Parker is one, and Sol Ruka is the other. I think Sol Ruka should be the one, though, that should be the one to challenge out of all of them, because she hasn't done as much recently since the match at Heatwave. So I'd like to see her have an opportunity here. I think her versus Grace would be an awesome match to see as well. But of course, babyface versus babyface, so that could be a unique one as well. But carrying on with Jordynne Grace. Sorry.
Screwy finish incoming with two baby faces.
That always could be the possibility. Bobby had a question for us that was pre-asked on the Q&A section of the community page the other day. Said, which NXT wrestlers would be the best opponents for Jordynne Grace for the TNA Knockouts Championship? I guess we've kind of answered that to a bit of a degree already, but which NXT wrestlers would you like to see appear on TNA that haven't appeared yet?
Oh, God. Sorry, for a second I thought you was asking for TNA to NXT. I'd assume, well, the Hardy Boys is a bit too easy an answer. But if you're talking NXT to, I mean, Obafemi against Moose, why not?
Yes.
Obafemi against Moose. I'm just trying to think of names here. Put Chase U on there somewhere. Do you know what I mean? They're doing really well at the minute. Yeah, man. Anyone with a title, really, they should be thrown on this show, man. Kalani Jordynne, isn't it?
Yeah, he's Kalani and Jordynne indeed.
Throw the titles on there, man. That's what you want. You want exposure, really. But Obafemi is the obvious one, I think. Him against Moose.
I would love to see him against Moose. I think that'd be fun. I want to see Ethan Page make a return to the Impact Zone. That's what I really want to see. Well. If I could have anybody to go over there, I think that would be my shout. And hey, look, I think that it's always good for the representation of having the Knockouts division as well, and the X division sort of supported. So we've seen Riley Osborne recently go over there, which I thought was really fun and exciting. But I'd like to see, again, it's those same names. Jada Parker, I think, would be great going over there. I think that Sol Ruka would be great. So yeah, I mean, those are the sort of people I want to see go over there. And why not Hank and Tank? I don't know. I'm getting into Hank and Tank recently.
I am as well, actually. Social media posts have been quite funny.
They have been. I've got Otis vibes growing there, but I'm quite enjoying that. So long may it continue. Pierre asked the question, do you think when his TNA contract is done that Joe Hendry should become a full-time WWE superstar?
Oh, it's too easy of an answer. I think my worry is like Joe Hendry is kind of the it thing at the minute in wrestling, and I kind of want it to be that. I personally think WWE are actually milking it too much, and they are using him way too much, and just honestly rinsing the hell out of the gimmick. And I worry that if he did sign, don't get me wrong, WWE I think is probably the end goal for Joe Hendry. It's where he wants to be professionally in his career, which is great. But we've seen this character before in the likes of Elias. People that sing songs about random wrestlers, and it doesn't. WWE again, different time period with booking, so you never know, it might work. But yeah, I mean, if I was Joe Hendry, I'd want to go to WWE. It's the biggest sports entertainment brand, wrestling show in the world. It's where you want to go, really. But my genuine fear is that they are honestly rinsing that character to death.
They are indeed, but maximising the potential while it's there, they've got to make the money out of it. So I'm not against them doing that.
I'd say the same for Jordynne Grace. Like, honestly, Jordynne Grace for me is WWE inbound. Once that contract is up with NXT, that's where she's going.
Yeah, I agree. I think Joe Hendry is definitely going there. I think that when he becomes a full-time, when he comes a free agent, WWE is in the future. I'd like to think that the ceiling is open for him. I understand what you're saying with the gimmick, but it's slightly different to Elias, and I think they have found a way of trying to be catchy with the songs and stuff. So it's working to now, and while it's working, they should keep it going. So I think that he should, because like you say, it's the top place. It's the top place to go. It's where everyone dreams of going, and he's not become TNA world champion yet, so for that reason, when they have the opportunity to do so, they haven't done it. So I think that it would be good to see him in WWE. When
WWE buys TNA and they merge them together, that's what they should do, and they integrate the TNA North America TNA World Championship with the NXT Championship.
I don't know if I'm against it. TNA wrestling on the network or on Netflix, so it's the same. It's under the same. What's it? Entrepreneur? What are they called? That's got
Echelon.
And Echelon or Endeavor. Endeavor's the one that's got them.
Endeavor, yeah.
It's Endeavor, yeah.
Oh, the company that owns it. I thought it was still Anthem. Oh, you talking about owns WWE? Yeah, you ain't said never. Yeah,
They've
you're right.
got a part in TNA, I believe. CD, you're in the house. Let me know if I'm right or wrong with this. I'm sure they've got a part in TNA as well, and I think that's what's helping this link together, but I could be wrong. CD though goes on to say, Raw going to 2 hours will be awesome. I like wrestling, but there's too much of it. An hour off of wrestling is good. To be honest, yeah.
Spoiler, CD, it might be going back to 3 hours in January. Apparently, this is just the thing while they're on the TV. They're just cutting their runtime down. And don't get me wrong, I'd like 2 hours of Raw. And like, I think someone said this to me the other day, and I said, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense if they're going to Netflix, because like, I think the biggest thing is how Raw's going to do on Netflix is commercial break wise. And like, I don't know if it's going to be a case of like WWE are possibly just going to do picture and if it's obviously going to be a live show, but are they going to have commercial breaks, or is it just going to be a case of they're going to go picture in picture adverts? Do you know what I mean? It's going to be really weird how it's produced. That's why I was like, so you're going to get 2 hours worth of wrestling. So I thought that'd be the thing going forward. But then it comes out today that apparently this is only temporary, and in January it's going to go back to 3 hours again.
I'll enjoy it while it's there. My fear was SmackDown was going to 3 hours. That was my initial fear. But at the same time, I can see definitely Netflix, like you say, this is an opportunity for them to push their content onto everyone that's watching. Like, oh, you're here for WWE? Well, remember, the Circle Season 8's on the way. You know, you get like a trailer for that. And then we've got this movie coming in and stuff like they have the ability to use that with Netflix to their advantage to push people of like, well, this is something else you might want to watch that's going to come on here on a binge circuit as well. So I think that they'll find a way to make it work. And Raw recently has been a lot more digestible than it used to be. So, I mean, we
was only saying like a couple of weeks ago, like I don't particularly find Raw a drag to watch at the moment. Like, it's been enjoyable from start to end. Like last year, there was episodes of Raw where I was just like, why have I watched that and wasted 3 hours of my life? But since Vince has left, I don't think Triple H has done particularly bad with Raw. And like I said, I've not heard anyone complain until like today, when obviously, or this week, when they talk about going back to 2 hours. I haven't actually heard anyone complain about Raw being 3 hours long. So it's take it as it is, but I think that, say, Triple H has done a pretty bang up job. The fact that for the last year, I haven't complained once about Raw being too long.
No, and I haven't in the recent times, I'll be honest. But as someone who does think a 2 hour wrestling show is the perfect length, I'm not going to complain of Raw going to that time. It cuts out the filler if there is any filler on the show. So
if anything, if anything, it would make the premium live events more special with the fact that they are an hour longer than a normal TV show.
That's what I've always thought back in the 90s and noughties. So, yeah, I 100%. I think that's bang on the money with that statement that you've just made. Bobby goes to say, hope we're having a good day today. Yeah, well, thank you. And even better now, knowing you're here with us, Bobby. I hope everyone else is having a good day as well. He can see also Roman Reigns showing up this Friday on SmackDown. And let's move on then to another question that's come in from Jonesy. We're going to move things over to AEW. Now, this question, granted, was asked before All Out. So, obviously, there's been some changes to this because who would you add to the Jon Moxley invasion storyline? We don't quite know what Jon Moxley's vision is at the moment. Obviously, it's not your company anymore. It's ours. At that time, it was him and Marina Shafir. Now we've had Claudio Castagnoli and Pac involved with that as well. Not Wheeler Yuta at this particular time. If I'm spoiling things, NXT, cover your ears. I'll try to be as discreet as possible.
I already know what happens.
There you go. You know about the plastic bag as well, which is just
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so Yuta made that segment better with the emotion and kind of like, wanting to get to it but couldn't get there. But it's a big question with the trios titles moving forward. But obviously the story and the question coming from Jonesy is Jon Moxley, what this all about, because he still wants to talk to Darby Allin. That's not been cut through yet of what that's for. Is it someone he respects, thinks he should be on his side? I've seen rumors of people suggesting this is meant to be the conspiracy as a factor. I actually think it's going to be some sort of invasion angle like Jones has suggested here. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but if you look at the people that are in Jon Moxley's stable right now, because it could be a reformed Blackpool Combat Club, but I think it's time to move away from that name. William Regal's been away from the company now for nearly 2 years. It's time to move on. Moxley, Claudio, Pac, and Marina, where have they all worked together previously before AEW? WWE. They are WWE people. I think in the background, Shane McMahon is going to get involved with AEW on screen.
No.
I think it is going to be an invasion thing. And this is going to be this year's big storyline. Because you remember last year, we had a show at the end of the year where there was going to be the big reveal, and we
Of the devil,
was, and the big story and the build up to that. And the show was called
Steve, before you finish, how did that story play out, though?
That didn't work out very well, but this is a new year. This is a new story. This is Shane McMahon I'm talking about, and how appropriate it could be under a show that's called World's End, because it could be Team AEW versus Team Shane McMahon of full ex-WWE guys. Because if there was that meeting that happened with Shane McMahon and Tony Khan, right? If that legitimately means that they were talking about doing business together, if Shane McMahon's coming in to do some form of storyline, he said, I need some of your big guys and top guys to make this believable. Jon Moxley would have been the first name on probably anybody's list if they want to start a stable off of looking good in an invasion angle. So that's what I think is going to happen. That's what I think this is going to go down. That's the links I'm putting towards it. Can't think of anything better. And regardless of whether it's liked, loved, or hated, I think it's the way it's going to go down. And obviously, it just makes sense to me, because that's why now they're going to go for the AEW World Championship. And I think as well, you could even add into this that Bryan Danielson could end up being collateral damage from it as well, because kicking him out of the BCC, but also forcing him to retire from his career by taking the AEW World Championship into this invasion style stable, because now it's their company, their form of an NWO style stable. It needs the world title to come over. It's to feel like AEW is not in control of its own company anymore. It does, then that renegade group gets its vibe, gets its believability, credibility into it if Moxley becomes the world champion again. So, and obviously from then, Bryan Danielson has to retire full time from his career. We know he needs neck surgery before the end of the year. That could be Danielson's World's End as well. So yeah, that's me throwing and spitballing a lot of ideas at and throwing them at the wall. I can see, NXT, that quite a bit of that you've had your head in your hands, and fair enough for that, but I'm pretty sure it's mainly due to the two words Shane McMahon.
What you've just done in the last 3 minutes is you've opened a portal, a time portal, in fact, and I've gone back to 2000 WCW somewhere, and I've ended back up on a WCW show, and Shane McMahon's bought WCW, and Vince is shocked, and I'm like, it's the same story 24 years later. Dude, don't get me wrong. I actually like the sound of it. It does sound like be something fun. It's the fact that they're using it. I don't know. It makes perfect sense, and that's why I hate it. I think because it makes perfect sense that it's Shane McMahon, because obviously he's got these connections and he knows all these guys. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure he never even interacted with Pac at any point when he was in WWE. So that one doesn't even make sense to me. But it's like, oh yeah, you used to work for the company I used to work for. We're buddies, you and me have never talked before, but look, dude, as long as he doesn't try, I don't know, renaming one of the shows Wednesday Night Nitro or Saturday Night Thunder or Raw and AEW Underground or something, I'm sure it'll be fine. You have to put a ball and chain on Shane McMahon, because unfortunately his imagination tends to run wild, and I'm sure it'll be good. Don't get me wrong, I do really like the sound of it, but it just does sound like 2000 Invasion, 2001 Invasion. That's what it sounds like to me. And that's not a bad thing, because as a 15-year-old kid, I love the invasion angle. Don't get me wrong. Looking back at it now, it probably was a bit sucky that they didn't have half the top stars that WCW had. But this is a different time. They have essentially all these people in. If you're going to do this, you know what you actually need is you need someone that's left WWE recently to come in, not that it happened, but a Becky Lynch. Do you know what I mean? I think if you was to add someone like a Becky Lynch to this storyline, it makes it a bit more credible. But essentially, you just got a load of guys that used to work for that company and that now work for this company that are now taking over. There's no invasion angle, if you know what I mean.
Of
Like
course.
we'll work here already. It's just some guy coming in and he's essentially, it's more Shane McMahon versus Tony. Is that what the end goal is? Shane McMahon versus Tony Khan in like a steel cage match or something?
Probably maybe a slam in the van just for you, or
There's a rage
but
in a cage. Yeah.
just to add a bit more of what you said there as well, it could be simply, Tony, I now own Collision. Could be the thing, but also
No one
there
wants to own Collision.
could have been worse. Could have said Rampage, but there is actually a little bit of breaking news though. AEW have trademarked what could be for a new show called Shockwave, and there's rumors going around that could be taking over WWE's slot on Fox. Now, could you imagine if that's the thing of that? McMahon has got AEW another TV show, and they've got it on Fox. It's a McMahon that fixed it, while everything else that's under Tony Khan is with Warner Discovery. Just throwing it out there. Throwing it out
makes
there.
me sick. Makes me sick, Stu. Makes me sick, honestly. And literally, what did I just say? Saturday Night Thunder, you've just gone with Shockwave. You couldn't get more closer to Thunder if you tried.
I didn't create the name. I didn't create the trademark. Tony Khan's done the trademark.
Fair, AEW are bad, are really rubbish at naming their shows, so it's fine.
Fair enough. Jonesy, hope you enjoy that answer when we get there. We get back to the live chat because we've got quite a few comments that have come flying in for the live viewers as well. And we'll go back
all
to
about the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. We're thankful the live ones are still here, actually, because of the fact that we're going through a lot of questions that are not live as well. So apologies for those that have had to be patient, but we are getting to you. Do you think Josh Alexander leaves TNA in 2025, RC Nation? He has been losing a lot lately, and that's usually a sign a wrestler's leaving the company very soon. Of course, his contract was extended for another year. Of course, it was in February, of course, in 2024. So I'm guessing he does become a free agent in 2025. I am going to say that I think he will leave. Yeah, I think he's going to probably be AEW, maybe not Shane's group, but he could go to AEW for Tony Khan's side, or he could end up in NXT
or ROH or anywhere. At this place, at this point in time, the world is his oyster. No, I mean, yeah, dude, man, it's always card subject to change, and it just depends on what his booking's like at the time being, and kind of like how just everything is in general. Like, don't get me wrong. I think he'd probably actually be better off staying in TNA because he's a top guy in TNA. And I think if he goes anywhere else at the minute, unless something changes drastically in the next year, he's going to struggle to be a top guy anywhere else. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just like he does need better creative if he wants to be a bigger star. But he already is one of the top guys in TNA.
He's certainly one of the best wrestlers in the world, and I think that it's been given a platform where you can showcase that with the right backing, like you said. It comes down with the right creative that can give him that opportunity to have that breakout. I'd like to see it work for him.
AEW, if anything, does make sense for him.
Yeah. He couldn't go in American Made, but Chad Gable's group would be perfect for him otherwise. But if it weren't called American Made, but yeah, it would have been quite cool to see. But anyway, we move on. Mike in the house, Mike, hope you're doing well. Since over 2 years ago, I would have said 3 hours of Raw is too much. But now a year later, since Vince was forced out, Triple H has made Raw very good, and 3 hours is right. And to be honest, I'm not going to lie. For someone who actually says he prefers 2 hour shows, Raw is currently my favorite show of the year. Currently, I think they're doing the best work of every company in the world right now on weekly TV.
Yep. There you go. That's what I mean. And like I said, it's been over a year since anyone last complained about Raw.
Absolutely. But Sid, I am happy it's going up to 2 hours, and so is NXT, but we just know it's not going to be for long. Pierre wants Drew to win in Hell in a Cell. Be interesting to see. That's one prediction we've not given away very early. We'll try and keep it just our cards to a chest just for now. Pierre says, though, can we agree that the Pure Fusion Collective, Baszler, Starks, and DeVille is a flop? WWE don't care about the faction, and it didn't help the career of like Valkyria 2 yesterday. Firstly, just to answer that, the name is garbage. I don't like the name.
Yeah.
The name is a mouthful, and not in a good way. I almost seem to get it wrong every time that I do it. It's not like it's not as if I'm having some pizza or some of my favorite sort of candy sweets. But anyway, they're not winning matches enough. They're losing quite convincingly a lot of the time. So yeah, it's not being booked to the potential. I was really excited about this group when it first been put together, probably until the name was brought in. But they can still turn it around. I think it's still got some credible people in that group, but WWE are not doing what they could do with this group to this point.
Yeah, I mean, dude, again, it's all creative. I mean, at the end of the day, someone's got to take L's at the minute, and Fusion Collective just really don't have. There's nothing at this present minute long term for them. So unfortunately, they have to be the guys that take L's. But that one killer story, one, do you know what I mean? Really good match, like one tag team title win can ultimately change their path. My issue is, I think you might have said this, or someone might have said this on the previous stream we did, that just putting Zoe Stark in with Shayna Baszler seemed like a curse for Zoe Stark, and it was like I agreed with it because, dude, Zoe Stark was having world championship matches at the start of the year, and now she's stuck in a faction doing nothing. And I wasn't a fan of when she was doing the whole Trish Stratus thing. She really does need to branch out and go be a single star. And it's, at the minute, don't get me wrong, I'm glad that they're together. That's 3 women on TV every week. Whether they're taking losses or not, they're still on TV, and you have to take that as a win. But like I said, one tag team title run, one really good bit of creative, and it all turns around for them.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing is, at the moment, they're in the tag team division that is currently held with the titles of Bianca and Jade, who, let's be honest, that story is going to go on till they want to have their singles match at WrestleMania. So it currently is probably bad timing at the moment for them. But I think once Jade and Bianca go into a singles program against each other, that opens the whole group division open to the rest of the teams to try and fight it out and to try and establish dominance. And obviously, Damage Control currently with the number 1 contenders, or look to be the next direction. But you wouldn't put it past this group then being a dominant, dominance of that tag team division afterwards, especially Freebird rule if they want to do it, or certainly having one on the outside. I think it certainly will help them. But I think Lyra will be fine, by the way. She's cooled down since Queen of the Ring. There's not been too much creatively for her recently, but I still think it's early days into her run.
Yeah, it's let's be honest, the breakout star this year is going to be Tiffany Stratton. Lyra Valkyria has had a decent introduction since she came up from NXT. She's done well. Unfortunately, it's just a case of biding your time. There are, unfortunately, other stories that are probably going to go on till Mania, because if you look at this world title scene with Liv and Rhea, this could easily go on till Mania. So ain't no one else really going to get... There's going to be fillers for whoever the champion is in pay-per-views, but you're going to wait until next year before someone else is going to be able to get a credible run with that championship. And that's not even to mention the likes of, for example, someone like Becky Lynch comes back. You nailed it on the head with the tag team titles. There's just, everyone's just tied. All these titles are tied up in stories, and it's like, that's why look, we need these mid-card titles for women, because they're not doing anything else. You got them stuck in factions, not doing anything, but you add 2 titles to this, it changes it. But the tag team titles are ultimately the biggest one, because you've got so many women in tag teams, and they're held by 2 essentially singles competitors that are just teaming up, and it's like it's all story beats. You just got to wait for them to play out.
You have indeed. We have to see how it's going to go, and hope the best for the future. Zane asked us a great question. Our thoughts on the new Raw commentator, which I always butchered the name, Joe Tessitore. Hope I've got it right that time there. But we've actually talked about this today, actually, and we slightly differ. You've been quite a fan so far of what you've heard with Joe.
Yeah, I honestly don't mind him. I mean, he's not a Michael Cole, he's not a JR, and it's just a case of, for me, like I said, he's a very NFL, like I get the impression he's a very NFL-esque style commentator, and obviously I watch a lot of American sports, NFL, hockey, whatever, so I'm kind of used to these guys, so I think for me it's not so much of an impact. I mean, I don't know, like, anyone when they're given time can fit in, but it's like, I know what you mean. We've seen commentators come and go in short periods of time. So who's the previous one that came in last year that was awful? The one. No, it wasn't. No, there was another guy that came in from like the UFC or something, and he was around for about 6 months, and then he left.
Jimmy Smith.
That might be the one. Yeah, like I said, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Jimmy Smith, and like unfortunately, not everyone's to everyone's flavor. So it's like wrestling, really. Do you know what I mean? You like your favorites and you hate your bad guys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I would say very quickly that I think he's got a really good voice. I feel he has got Mauro Ranallo vibes in a way, with the way when he talks about things and he gets things over. But he's missing some Mamma Mia's. He's missing the passion. He's missing.
I'll give you that.
That's what I'm kind of missing. I feel it can be quite monotone and very deep voice says what's going on. It's just like I sometimes need it to just break out a bit more and just be in the moment. And it's only his second show live. I mean, come on, like it's got to give him a chance, got to give him time. He certainly has done fine. It's just for me at the moment, I do feel that with a voice like his, it's also doesn't always stand out, I think, is what I'm trying to say. Like Wade Barrett is very distinguished when I hear him talk, and I think that I'm more likely to pay attention to what Wade is saying currently of the two of them.
I know what you mean. Essentially, every iteration of commentators that we've had, the more popular ones are essentially characters. Michael Cole was a character, JR is a character, The King was a character, Corey Graves is a character, Byron Saxton is a character. He needs to find his character, essentially. Like, he needs to find his style. Like, how essentially Samantha Irvin has made a name for herself and become, like, do you know what I mean, one of the greatest ring announcers ever, because she's put her own spin on stuff and made it her own. He just needs to find that with himself. He needs to find his character as a WWE commentator.
Completely agree with that 100%. Move on to On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. Was on their show last week, by the way. Fantastic channel. Go and subscribe to them. And was actually for the All Out prediction show. But they ask here, do you think Gunther will be world champion going into WrestleMania? If so, who should he face? So quick answer for me on that first question. Yes, I think he will be world champion come WrestleMania. Would you agree?
Yeah. I can see him being champion going into Mania. That the hard question of who he's going to face. I mean, it could be a plethora of people at the minute. At the end, I mean, the first name that jumps out to me really is probably Priest, and Priest gets his win back off of him. Ooh. There's also really a Dragunov. There's a few possibilities. A Finn Balor, because I really do genuinely want to see Gunther versus Finn Balor. I think that'd be a great match as well.
For me, I'm going to go with dun, 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 17th world title. John Cena goes for it and loses.
Oh, yeah. I was just about to say, I can see them doing that, putting him in the match just for him to lose. I can see it.
Because then John Cena's got to then go the rest of the year to try and get the 17th world title. Maybe it doesn't work originally, so instead he becomes a Grand Slam champion, winning the IC title. It's the one title he's not won. Then he goes and tries to win that world title again, maybe through Money in the Bank. And yeah, I don't know. I have some ideas.
He actually does the heel version and cashes in at the end of a match instead of announcing like 4 weeks before, I am challenging you for a title match.
So not John Cena. And I so like
I know.
It.
NWO John Cena to return.
Absolutely. You can't see him. But you might see him, you can't see him. Pierre asks, do you think in the near future the final boss, The Rock, will reveal himself as the leader of the new Bloodline, aka Solo's Bloodline? I think it eventually will happen. I feel, though, it may not even be until after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a case of Rock was behind it all, and it will get to the point where Solo has had enough of him. And Solo's going to feel exactly like he was when he was standing behind Roman for all those years. And I think at some point, if you're going to do that, that could end up with The Rock versus Solo as well in a match.
Maybe Solo goes back to the OG Bloodline, because then The Rock has it has Tama and Tawalonga, has Jacob Fatu, probably Hikuleo by that point as well. So there would be enough to have Solo go back on the other side. As Triple H has said, there's years worth of stuff he can do with this. So there's no rush to doing it. But yeah, absolutely think it can happen indeed. And last then, I believe, of the questions that we had before coming in, because I think we've answered some other ones already in the chat as well. So this is the one then that I think could be the hardest to answer, but I'm going to try and go first. Above the Ring, great podcast for what they do. It says now WWE on Fox, the run for them is over. Besides the original Bloodline storyline, what is the best storyline on Fox's SmackDown in your opinion? Now this is extremely difficult, because obviously the OG Bloodline storyline has dictated about 4 of the years that's taken place on Fox, and they have done some incredible work. Now it would be very lazy of me to say the new Bloodline storyline, because obviously it's still carrying on with the Bloodline. I'm refusing to do so. So to come up with an answer that I'm going to go through, because I know it's not an easy one to come up with an answer with straight away, but the one I came up when I had to think about it is I have gone with Sami Zayn's conspiracy theory, because when Sami we'd come back after COVID with the Intercontinental Championship and all the stuff that the company's against him, and he was making videos as well each and every week. I remember being gripped and wanting to see this evidence that Sami Zayn had that everyone was against him. So that's going to be my pick. But yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult because when you think back of it, there's been a lot of stuff going on Fox. Some good, some bad, some karaoke. But for me, I think Sami Zayn would probably take that because Sami done some excellent work during SmackDown.
I no, I don't get it wrong. I did find that highly entertaining. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just check my timeline.
No worries. Should I go to another question whilst you do that?
Go to another question while I'm just doing that. Yeah,
no problem. We'll do that. So we'll go back into the live chat in the meantime, and just quickly shout out to Noob and Co in the house, who's in the house. Hope you're doing well, Noob. In fact, Noob had a question as well, which I've not noted down, asking about Julia's run in NXT, how that's going to go. Could she be the next Asuka? For me, I would say not the next Asuka, but I think certainly can have a run like that in NXT if that's the comparison you want to make. I do think Julia is going to beat Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship, and I think she's going to be treated as a megastar in NXT until she's called up to a Raw or a SmackDown. But yeah, I think bright future for Julia in WWE. I'm really excited with the buzz that's behind. I've not seen too much of her work, so I'm really excited for the match with Chelsea Green that's going to be taking place later this evening. So, Noob, thank you for that pre-question that you had for us before coming in.
I have my answer, Steve.
Go for it.
And this one, hang on. I'm gonna have to check it now because I'm not sure of my timelines. Right, no, I've got it. I know what it is.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it. And this, because it wasn't supposed to happen, the NXT invasion of SmackDown when they couldn't get back from Saudi Arabia
because it was on Fox. It just started.
Yes, and it was such a great moment just to see Adam Cole go on one-on-one with Bryan Danielson for the NXT Championship on SmackDown as a main event. I absolutely loved that, and obviously it built towards. No, Survivor Series was the following year, wasn't it? Where they had the triple threat? Was
a month later.
Yeah, so yeah, that was my favorite point of the Smack run because obviously I'm an NXT guy, and my brain was having to think of the dates. But yeah, that's my favorite. And the NXT invasion of SmackDown.
Change my answer. You're so right. It's facts. It's not even like, is it a little bit facts? That was the best part. So yeah. I think you're bang on the money with that one.
And the original Fox entrance as well. Like, you know, when it had the three things either side of the entrance ramp, I thought it just looked cool as hell. And then COVID happened, and then we went back to the boring stages. True
story indeed. PS is after Bad Blood. I think they will take a break with Liv versus Rhea and Damien versus Finn, and the two feuds will continue at WrestleMania 41. I think maybe then with Priest versus Demon Finn Balor. You could be right with that. You could be right. However, War Games. I mentioned about Bloodline, what that would be with earlier on, and I think this is one that's going to coincide with why I also think we're not got Bloodline versus Bloodline, because I think they're going to do a instead of a women's one this year, I think they're going to do Judgment Day versus the Terror Twins. So I think it's going to be like a mixed one, because they've done that with a street fight this past week on Raw. So they're not afraid to put men and women in the same match. So I think that they will do that. And obviously Rhea wants to get her hands on Dom as well. So I think they can make that work. And then you'll probably say to me, well, who's going to align then with the Terror Twins, Damien Priest and Rhea Ripley? Well, Jey Uso has already been making the saves. There's already been there. And obviously Sami Zayn as well, because they said they were going to go for the tag team championships at some point, who are currently held by Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Spoiler alert, they'll retain against the New Day this up next week on Raw. And by the way, the upcoming 10-year anniversary of the New Day and all these little sparks and twists, I think the New Day is going to have its final day very soon. I think the 10-year anniversary is going to be the split, and I think Xavier is actually going to turn on Kofi. But yeah, that's me giving a lot of little predictions from me anyway. And Steve, do you agree with this? Because certainly this is quite possibly what Pierre was suggesting.
My thing about the intergender is like they have to go the AEW way, and we have to get men wrestling women, and even TNA way, because TNA do it. It's only WWE that doesn't do it. And look, we look, man, it's 2024. We all know that it's, do you know what I mean? It's scripted to a certain degree, and it's kind of like we know that someone isn't seriously punching a woman in the head. It's a wrestling match. It's a, do you know what I mean? It's storytelling, and it's kind of like, especially if you can have someone like Rhea Ripley, why can't she get into a fist fight with Gunther? Why can't they chop each other? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, no, don't go with the chops. That's too much. That's insane talk. But do you know what I mean? Why can't we get Rhea Ripley being double suplexed by JD McDonough and Carlito? Do you know what I mean? They have to, if they're gonna do it, at least do it on the premium live event as a one-time thing. Then just sort of test the waters. You can do it with class. You can do it with style. You can protect Rhea. You can protect Liv. But do you know what I mean? Like, give them the opportunity. Especially with how like the world is nowadays, and obviously everyone wants to be equal. There shouldn't be segregation. There shouldn't be divides between genders, races, whatever. Have Rhea Ripley kick the shit out of some men, and have some men kick the shit out of Rhea Ripley. Why not, man? Show that they can give it, they can take it as good as they can give it.
You just want Rhea as Intercontinental Champion. That's just be honest.
Damn bloody right, I do. I do want Rhea Ripley as Intercontinental Champion.
See, this is if WWE's planning to have Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. By the way, I love all the points you just made there. By the way, just to add on what you just said, but with the intergender stuff, I think for War Games, I think that sort of make a lot of sense. By the way, to do that, because it's a good placement to do. You haven't got to do each and every week, and it's a one-off. It becomes a spectacle, becomes special, feels different. So I kind of agree with that aspect there. Yeah. And then when it goes to Netflix, if they want to be more edgy, that's your time to do it rather than on USA. Yeah. But CD says, if WWE's plans to have Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa as the WWE Tag Team Champions, then why did they have Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga win the tag team titles? Poor Tonga Loa had an eye patch, didn't he? I mean, you know, I think that's why. I mean, we don't want to see another pirate win the tag team championships, do we?
I couldn't see the tag half the time. That was the problem. He was like that. He's like, "What? Are you trying to tag me in? Huh?"
I think they had lessons as well for how he had to hold up the title, because the first time did look very awkward. So I think that might be a part of it as well.
How can this guy be a multi-time New Japan Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champion and not know how to hold up a championship? It baffles me, man.
I absolutely love Tonga Loa. Give him a lifetime contract, and I'm happy with his work so far.
To be honest with you, what is it? Botchamania could make a weekly episode on him, man. It'd be great.
And I would be front row and center with my popcorn, and I would be loving it. See, this is a lot of people have been saying that Roman and Cody could win the tag team titles. I like it. It seems to be a popular opinion, and that certainly could be going down, which is quite fun to see. Pierre, again, wants to see McIntyre win Hell in a Cell because he's tired of Drew being a victim and getting screwed by his title shot by Punk 3 times. There you go.
SummerSlam next year, man. If if I can will it into fruition, and I believe that, because we still don't know where SummerSlam's going to be next year. If it's going to be in the UK, Drew's finally going to get that win in front of his home crowd. Because if it doesn't happen, then I'm just going to give up with Drew McIntyre altogether.
I think you might have to. Pierre, comment of the night: Tonga Loa is the real goat of the bloodline. Absolutely. Let's hope something. Just, by the way, it's a great way to plug that video. By the way, NXT, thank you very much. Let's just quickly go there if you haven't seen it already. Predicting the locations of PLEs in 2025. The video is available now on YouTube. It's a lot of fun as well, so make sure to check that video out. And obviously, SummerSlam can be in the UK in 2025. That'd be pretty darn sweet. Was we excited for Bret Hart and Natalya's return to Raw? Certainly Bret Hart's, and I love the interaction with Gunther, the salty savage guy that he is there, saying that Bret Hart was his second favorite wrestler. I thought the first was going to be Shawn Michaels. Tonight, his first was Bill Goldberg. Absolutely loved it. I was howling.
That was the funniest thing, man. Like how, especially because it's Bret Hart, and let's be honest, Bret Hart don't like a lot of people in general. Like, he thinks like the sun shines out of his backside, really. But the fact that they convinced him to let Gunther say Bill Goldberg is his favorite wrestler, I was like, oh my god. How much did they have to pay Bret to stand in the ring and take that? That is the ultimate question. How many zeros were on that check?
The thing is, well, you could see Bret was smiling through half of that as well with good. He's just like, I'm pleased to be here. This is Calgary. This is great to be here. You know what I mean? This is everyone loves me. This is my place. So yeah,
I'm the hero here.
Yeah, I love Bret Hart. I mean, one of my favorites when I first started watching. I'm seeing a lot of his work when he was in his prime at the moment as well. So, I feel very old when I watch Raw, unfortunately. But yeah, it's great. It's great to see. Great to see Bret and great to see him doing well. Yeah, Natalia return as well. I mean, look, she picked up a win. I think she's overhated by people, so I would say that. I mean, not my favorite women's wrestler, but I do think that she does good work. She's a good locker room leader. She helps the younger talent. She's great with NXT. It's good to see her stick around. So yeah, pleased to see her return.
She has a place on the roster. She has done for years. One of the very few people that can get a win in their hometown as well. Let's be honest with that, because not a lot of people get a win in their hometown.
Absolutely not. Just to say, I've just noticed how far behind we are on the chat. It's a record, NXT. So I'm pleased people are still here. We are 50 minutes behind, and there are a lot of comments. We're going to try and catch up with you. Let's try and catch up with you because we're embarrassingly behind. Sid says AEW done a cage match and WWE copy of a cage match. I mean, I wouldn't say copying. I mean, you could turn around and say that AEW did a street fight and then WWE did a street fight on Raw. But is it copying or is it just coincidence?
More probably coincidence than anything. But hey, everything in wrestling is stolen.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, AEW didn't create a cage match and probably WWE didn't either. So whoever did, great to them. Cage match is a great thing. We're just grateful we have both. Pierre says, just say quickly, if WWE use a syringe and drug a wrestler in the mouth on Friday, then I'll know that WWE is definitely copying AEW. Just to throw that out there. I don't think it'll happen somehow. Pierre says Raquel Rodriguez for me to help Liv Morgan at Bad Blood become an honorary member of the Judgment Day, the enforcement of the Judgment Day. We spoke about it earlier. We think it's a good idea. Yeah, let's hope it happens.
Just to go back to your previous comment, you do realize that Dean Ambrose was the person who injected himself in the arse on a segment on Raw once, right?
Funnily enough, I blocked that out of my head. CD says Finn Balor and JD McDonough. If Roman Reigns comes with a syringe, that's it. I'm done. CD says Finn Balor and JD McDonough may be the worst tag team champions in history. They've not defended the titles in nearly 2 months and lost in 2 non-title matches. Thankfully, they're defending the title. And even Joe on commentary said, at last, they're defending those titles. So yeah, I mean, we have to wait and see what will go
let's
down.
Be honest, you can lose 90% of your, you can lose 99% of your matches as long as you win the ones that count, and that's all that matters, man. You're tag team champions as long as you retain them. It doesn't matter how many times you lose.
Absolutely. Pierre says, of course, Sammy was an honorary Uso. Want to have an honorary member of the Judgment Day for Raquel Rodriguez makes a lot of sense. Sid says, we'll see Charlotte Flair return at Bad Blood or Survivor Series. I'm going to say neither and say the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that sounds like the most plausible time. Should be on SmackDown anyway.
Yes, SmackDown, and please align with Andrade, please. Liv Morgan and Rodriguez. Yeah, absolutely, it's time. They were tag team in 2023. Makes sense. Yeah, it does indeed. Certainly does make sense there. If Triple H is giving Jey Uso the LA Knight treatment, is he going to take forever to give him a singles title? Seems that way right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, unfortunately, Braun's just got that Intercontinental title, so he's the breakout star in the men's division this year. And look, he's probably not going to lose that title till probably Mania by the looks of it.
Probably not at the moment, if we had to be honest with ourselves. Pierre says, I want to see Mike Bailey and PCO as my 2 teenage French-Canadian boys in NXT soon, just for one appearance. Certainly, I mean, we've seen PCO as Jean-Pierre Lafitte, who was my eye patch guy that I was going with earlier. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see Mike Bailey and PCO, to be fair. It would be fun for an appearance, but Mike Bailey particularly of the two for me.
Mike Bailey, yeah, sure. PCO, I think he'd scare off half the NXT roster because, like, he is a scary looking dude, and half the NXT roster are about 12. He's like, you give them all nightmares.
Poor thing, Hal. Yeah,
there you go.
Imagine. Yeah. Trying to think who would be we will catch up, chat. Don't worry. Who would be the perfect person to go against PCO in NXT? Drop it down below right now. Like, Robert Stone would have been great before when he was a heel, but now he's a part of like the setup with Ava. I can't go with him now, but who would be great for PCO would be great to know.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head.
Not at the moment for me either. That's why I'm getting them to do the work. Zane says, I would like to see Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair do a tag team. That would be quite fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like, obviously, two enemies become. That's the same thing as what we've currently got with, like, if Cody and Roman were to win the tag team titles, it'd be the same sort of thing.
Although I do think they've been better rivals, to be fair, as well. To see him go at it one more time, just like the WrestleMania 39 match would be against seeing. Your thoughts on the Street Profits having a match on NXT tonight against Nathan Frazier and Axiom? Not sure the reason the Rascals aren't there. It's a shame we're not getting that match, but maybe that was saved for a later date.
I think that's a Wesley storyline. I think that's the reason why they're not getting that match. I really don't want to see the Street Profits take another loss in a tag team title match. I mean, there could have been anyone on the roster that you could have put on. I suppose like Street Profits are probably the biggest name on the roster that really aren't doing anything at the minute. So yeah, I think that's my one side is I just don't want to see him lose another tag team title match.
I'd have put Pretty Deadly in the spot personally, just like you said. Then Frazier and Axiom could have just retained. But as a match itself, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I want to see the Profits get a bit more of a push because they have been down the pecking order for far too long, in my opinion. Pearson, do you think Sami Zayn, Brock Lesnar? So after Sami Zayn, Brock Lesnar is to come back to face Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Honestly, no. I don't know when Brock will be back, if ever, to be honest. I don't have a timeline on Brock returning in WWE for me.
I like the sound of it, but yeah, obviously outside of wrestling, things are currently happening, so who knows?
We'll have to say who knows for now. But if the match ever is possible and it seems cool to do and it's fine, then yeah. But if not, then no. P.S. Sol Ruka is an incredible talent that deserves to be a champion. Do agree with that 100%. C Nation says Wendy Chu will enter Jordynne Grace's open challenge for the TNA Knockouts Championship. They teased it on TNA Impact last Thursday with Jordynne Grace being attacked by someone with a pillow in the ring. So I guess then, yeah, it's going to be Wendy Chu. And yes, Cedar, you have caught me out. I did not see TNA last week.
Yeah, neither did I. But if I'm honest, Wendy Chu character is not my favorite. Don't be wrong. I'm actually excited for the match because I think Wendy Chu versus Jordynne Grace sounds like a killer match. I just don't want to see pillow fights. I'm done with the Wendy Chu character, the sleep paralysis demon gimmick. I
need a pillow when it comes to this Wendy Chu gimmick at the moment, I feel. But yeah, it's I don't think she's great in ring. I liked the other Wendy Chu character as a babyface better, but that's just me. AJ Styles should return to TNA. Zane, you are right. Would love to see it bound for glory, personally. Bobby says, for me, I'd like to see NXT talent Lola Vice or Brindley Reese, except Jordynne Grace's open challenge tonight. Both would be great. The things. This is what I think is great with Jordynne Grace's open challenge tonight. There is no wrong answer.
Yeah. That's the essentially all this is out there to do is just make someone a bigger name.
Absolutely. PS says not to say that Ruka must win it, but she deserves to win the title in NXT. Certainly agree with that. I think at one point she will win a title in NXT. See, this is sorry to say, but I don't see a big time NXT wrestlers going to TNA. I think it's just lower card talent who need exposure. I think there's a shout for that as well, and I think certainly would be fine. Kicking it with Leo says, do you think Ash by Elegance is the one to beat Jordynne Grace, or could she shock everyone and Kalani Jordan for the NXT Women's North American Championship, considering they were about to feud? I'd like to see them do that actually with Kalani Jordan and Ash by Elegance. I think that'd be a great way to do the crossover, regardless if it's in TNA or NXT. Would certainly be a fan of that. As for Jordynne Grace, if you're taking a TNA talent right now, I don't think there's anyone that's been positioned better than Ash by Elegance to take that title right now. So I would have her as the person to take that title. If she wants to go for Kalani Jordan, I think Kalani Jordan would be retaining.
Yeah, agreed. I can't add more to what you just said. Really, it all sounds pretty bang on.
Zane says Ethan Page versus Josh Alexander in TNA. I mean, where do I sign?
Yeah, exactly. So put it on now.
Just give it to us. It is, but Dave Batista said, give me what I want. PS says, can we talk about the lights out steel cage match between Hangman and Swerve Strickland at All Out? Was the most crazy hardcore steel cage match of all time, in my opinion. NXT obviously can't give too much opinion because you still haven't seen it, have you, at the moment? There's just too much wrestling.
I know I know it's controversial, and I know it has its. I know that apparently I hear Swerve has taken a lot of stick for it as well. Like like I said, spoilers don't bother me. I have kids. I don't get a chance to watch things sometimes, so I'll just watch it later. But yeah, go for it, man. By all means.
I mean, we can talk about it a little bit, and all I'll say is that it is one of the most batshit crazy matches I think I've ever watched. I do feel personally, it's just for me. I will say one thing negative about the match. Do you think the cage limits what this match could? I think it could have been more without the cage. I think it should have simply been a lights out match and that's it. That's just me. But I understand they wanted to contain the badness, and since that a house was burnt down, to put a cage around them has its kind of symbolic gesture, I suppose. But there was a great use of the cage before the match started. I like the fact that they were trying to almost decapitate Hangman's head at the start of the match. And obviously we've mentioned about the syringe already, which is just, I think, a bit mental. I don't like cinder blocks. Full stop. I don't like them. And obviously the finish itself.
I've seen that video. It's not
Nah. And the finish.
There's one. I don't know. You might not be talking about the same one. The one where the guy throws a real one at the back of the guy's head at an indie show. Is that the one you're thinking of? Because that's the one that instantly comes to my head.
But it went to someone's head anyway, by the sounds of it. But it wasn't in reference of this. But it's just, in general, I don't like them. And obviously, the finish of this match is certainly controversial to say the least. But I will not say too much more, Pierre, just because I want the man next to me to see the match first. We can talk about it a bit more the next time, even though I've probably given a few details away for him. King Leo says, should Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble and beat Gunther at Mania? And if Rhea beats Liv for the title, should she win the Royal Rumble and finish that story where she is the runner-up? Interesting, because we have two questions in one here. First off, should Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble? Unfortunately, my answer is no.
I like the sound of it, though, to be fair. Like, I genuinely, I think, like, do you know what? It's not a bad shout, to be fair, come January. Like, if they want to elevate Jey up as a main card player and give him that title shot, even if he lost at WrestleMania, I still think that'd be a great shout. It
would be a fun match. I don't know. I start to feel like when we get towards WrestleMania, that's when we start putting Jey back in the direction of this bloodline stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Jey Uso against Gunther was a great match the last time they did it. I wouldn't be against if they did it again. I just have a feeling. With The Rock being someone that could go for one world title, we've mentioned the idea of John Cena going for the other. I think it's a legend that's going to win the Men's Royal Rumble this year, and it could end up being The Rock if I had to predict this early. But if Liv is to lose the title to Rhea before the Royal Rumble, I would be in favor of her winning the Royal Rumble, because I said that she's been runner-up twice now. I believe it's the last 2 years. I think it's her time to win one. And I feel I'm giving a couple of WrestleMania matches of what I think is going to happen away here in this video, because we're going to do that in the next month. We're going to go back together again and say this is our Mania card 6 months before Mania. But I think that Becky doesn't need to win a Royal Rumble. I think she's going to be involved for this to be a triple threat match. I think Becky just needs to show up, and potentially she could even win Elimination Chamber to make it. I still want this title. They'll find a way to make it a triple threat match. But I think Liv winning the Rumble at the moment would make the most sense for me, because if she loses that title to Rhea, there is a big fear factor that she could just fall down the pecking order again. And I feel that with the year she's having, I think that she is justified to be in that title match next year, currently at WrestleMania.
Yeah, absolutely. Putting on some of her best story work she's ever done. And I appreciate the runner-up sentiment, because it's essentially what her career has been. She's always been second best. Even like her first ever title win when she beat Ronda Rousey. People were just so underwhelmed by the title run, because you've had to take the title from Ronda Rousey, and she's supposed to be like the baddest woman on the planet, and it was kind of like a bit of a hodgepodge. And like you said, the two previous runs that I don't care what anyone says, right? She had the exact same run time as Rhea Ripley. They both started the match at the same time, and they both finished the match at the same time. So I hate when they do that. Like, what, just because she got knocked off the apron, the match ends. Do you know what I mean? There's no 1 second longer thing. It's crap. But I believe that as well. I think she should win it. I think it cements her then as a main event star for the women's division. Let's be honest, it's been a long time overdue for Liv as well. But you're right, she has had a great year.
Yeah, she's done very well with the character work as well. She's developed a lot in that heel turn. Zane says, hope TNA, WWE don't buy TNA and get rid of TNA. I hope they don't get rid of TNA if they would ever buy it. For me, I think it'd be easier access to view it. And I think it'd be good for the TNA brand because they can have it as a separate thing of what they do. Like, for example, NXT could be literally the college people that come in. TNA could be the established indie stars. And then they can do maybe Worlds Collide, for example, once a year, where you can have the dream matches with the TNA versus NXT, and then those ones can just filter into the draft. I just think it would be a good way of use for it. But apparently, Anthem owns TNA. I thought Endeavor had something still to do with it, despite Anthem owning it. But CD says that Anthem owns TNA, and that's that.
Let's be honest. If WWE were going to buy it, it's the tape library they want. It's not necessarily the brand and the wrestlers. Really, it's more the tape library because the tape library is worth so much more to them.
It's true, but it would be worth a lot to AEW as well. And I've seen what they've done with Ring of Honor, so I personally hope if anyone's going to do it, and it's just an if. One day someone did it, I would prefer it to be WWE. CD says last Thursday on TNA Impact, when Mike Hannigan talked about Ethan Page, Josh Alexander got silent. Interesting. I know Wrestlemania UK has got a new interview with Josh Alexander, and he talks about Ethan Page in that interview. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, and I'll let you know next time. But I recommend go and check it out anyway. Which is better, Raw or SmackDown of WWE? Raw.
Raw followed closely by NXT for me at the minute.
Yeah, I think SmackDown's bottom of the three at the moment. NXT is just my opinion, but I wouldn't like to see WWE buy TNA. Look what happened to Ring of Honor. Well, yeah, I mean, Ring of Honor's it's hit the dirt, really, isn't it?
Like you said, though, it's like I just said, it's the tape library more than anything. Like, and the fact that you could go back and watch all the old TNA stuff as well and make it easily accessible. Yeah,
absolutely. Roman versus Solo. WrestleMania 41 potentially is there. Bobby says, think Zaya, which of course was Zaya Lee, could be the one to beat Jordynne Grace for the Knockouts World Championships. Of course, she's due to debut imminently, which should be fun to see. Marina Shafir in Moxley's faction. I don't know why she's with Moxley. It doesn't make sense to me, says Pierre. We don't have the answers at the minute, but she does look badass in the group. It's the best she's looked in AEW.
Exactly. It's exactly like you can't ask for more than that. She looks like a badass at the minute.
Absolutely. Also, All Out, Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale street fight. That was a bang match. Certainly was. Freaking enjoyed that.
Yeah, dude, a proper old school hardcore match. Just it had two women in place, and I thought they'd done it justice.
Absolutely. Sid says there was YouTube. Yeah, and it's a great match. It's one of the best matches on All Out, to be fair. Apparently, there's a YouTuber that thinks Dean Ambrose has returned to WWE and he keeps banging on about it. Name and shame, Sid. Name and shame, because Moxley's under contract for a while, but maybe he's not put a time frame on it. He's not put a time frame on it. Could be any day.
There's so many of those YouTube channels out there that just honestly, that I think they just wake up with the most crazy, vivid dreams and just put it on a YouTube video. Like I've seen, like there's one out there that just honestly, he doesn't even read dirt sheets. He just makes it up as he goes on. And his thumbnails are so clickbaity. It's just horrific.
There's too many of those. And that's why channels like that get more views than this one. And we try and do regular content. I think that we need a feud with the White Six versus Judgment Day after Blood. That could be so cool. I think in the future, absolutely, it'd be great. I think White Six, though, next could be Final Testament bound. But then Cross is looking to go after The Miz at the minute.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I think that's my worry about Judgment Day as well, is what happens to them afterwards. I mean, I'm sure they'll be fine. White Six is obviously a very delicate one where you have to treat it with caution, and it's like you have to hope that they do it right. I mean, let's be honest, they've done the last 3 weeks some iteration of American Made versus the White Six, so as long as they're still on TV, I suppose I can't complain.
There you go. When was the best time in WWE? I would say year 2000. I think that was when it was the most consistent.
I think just the whole Austin run, I think, is the greatest. Like, for me personally, I think he is the greatest WWE superstar of all time, and I think his run as just a character. Like, let's be honest, he had the most generic looking ring gear, but to this day, he's still one of the best selling T-shirts of all time. And I think that really pretty much sums it up. If you're still selling T-shirts 20 odd years later, I think that sums it up.
Absolutely. I think 2000 is seen as like a year that everybody loves from start to finish, and they did a lot of great pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view. I think WrestleMania was the one that was a bit weak in the year 2000, but I mean, obviously there was that early period of 2001. Apologies about my face, by the way. But with January with the Royal Rumble up until WrestleMania X7, that period of like 3 months, I don't think has ever been top. The quality of like 10 out of 10 pay-per-views for Royal Rumble, No Way Out, and WrestleMania. I don't remember a period so good in wrestling as those 3 months. So that probably is the best time if I had to put a time. But personally, as a favorite year, 2002 might be my favorite year because it's my favorite SummerSlam Survivor Series. And I think the Royal Rumble was up there as one of the best ones they've ever done as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, as long as I appreciate the Austin run, but I think for me, if I'm going to pick a time frame, like I was watching wrestling every week. It's got to be NXT from like 2017 to 2020, the whole black and gold era, and I was so just into it. Everyone, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Ciampa, it was just the best period of pro wrestling for me.
Absolutely, yeah. It was NXT is such special times, black and gold. And just quickly before we go on to that, we will be going into the takeovers tomorrow because we will be talking about NXT Takeover Fatal 4-Way. It's the next XCW Rewind, which you have given us. So we'll be reviewing that live on this channel tomorrow. So make sure to be with us here for that. So it'll be same start time tomorrow. So yeah, we can be with us with that. We still need to talk about the PWI. We haven't done that, so let's just do that very, very quickly. Obviously, that's the breaking news has come out for that today. So you can see number 1 is Cody Rhodes. So let's just quickly go through the top 10. And I'm going to quickly get I'm going to get NXT's reactions. So as you can see, number 1 is Cody Rhodes. Number 2 is Swerve Strickland, whose house. Number 3, Will Ospreay. Number 4, Seth freaking Rollins. Tetsuya Naito is at number 5. Damien Priest, number 6. MJF, number 7. Jon Moxley, number 8. We've got Gunter at number 9. And Mystico rounding things off from CMLL at number 10. So NXT, people can't see our faces for the second, but what's your thought of that lineup there of a top 10?
Obviously, I've not followed New Japan for a while, so I don't know what Naito's doing, but the fact that he's 5th, I think is great. That means I'm clearly missing something that I should be watching. Ospreay, obviously, should be top 3, still having banger after banger. Swerve being number 2, I think is also fantastic. His rise, his run as AEW World Champion and his rise in the last year has been immense. I'm very surprised that Gunter is 9, if I'm honest. I thought he'd have been a lot higher up, like especially after his 666-day reign as IC champion. Now he is World Heavyweight Champion. I would have expected him to have been maybe in around 6 or 7, where Priest and MJF are. Is it Caristico, the CML one? Unfortunately, don't know enough about it. Moxley, I think, for me, is the most shocking one. Like, off the top of my head, I can't think of a lot of Moxley's done in the last year to be top 10. Like, you might have to throw some story beats at me, but I can't think of a lot. And I think Gunter should be ahead of Jon Moxley, in all fairness.
I think Moxley's there also for his New Japan work, along with AEW. He's been obviously doing the double duty. That's probably where he's had the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship in the last.
Oh, he was. Months. You're right. Yes, my apologies. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't follow New Japan, so that's probably why he's in there.
But I agree with you. I think Gunter should be above him. I think Gunter's been for me, Gunter is like the second best wrestler in the world right now. For me, he would be higher in that list. However, I'm fine with the top 10. The only thing I have a little bit of a crime about is I think where is Drew McIntyre? I think he's having one of the runs of his life right now. And I think he should be in that top 10. I mean, I'm not really watching Mystico's work, so I can't really comment so badly on that. But I would have Drew in the top 10. That's the main change that I would make, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know I can agree with what you're saying. I can probably. I think that it's more to do with because obviously they go from year to year. So what they're running it from September to but even then, Punk came back at War Games, didn't he? So that would have been November. So he's had basically a whole year's worth of. He's had that 2 months shy of a decent year's run. So yeah, I can't understand why he's not in there either.
No, absolutely. I'm very surprised that he's not in there, to be brutally honest. But I know that he's not too far from the top of the pecking order. But obviously, I've just picked the top 10. There's 500 in that list. So yeah, I mean,
I was just going to have a look at it of interest to see if I could find where Drew McIntyre is, but unfortunately, I can't seem to see it.
He's like 12th or 13th. He's not too far outside the top 10.
That's not that bad. Yeah.
But it's mean.
Fair enough.
It's me nitpicking.
Isn't
Anyway,
has the women's one not been revealed yet?
No, they don't do it at the same time. So I think the women's
they
is
do 100,
revealed in
don't
like another few weeks. I think probably their next edition they release. That's probably when it is in a month
Right,
or
gotcha,
so.
gotcha.
Usually. So,
Yeah, cool.
C Nation,
Oh, well,
we're going to try now. Go on.
I was just going to say this. So they base it on win-loss records, and if you can't win at home, that's why Drew's not in the top 10.
It's funny because it's true. So we're going to do something because I wasn't planning on doing a 2-hour stream tonight, but we are 50 minutes behind our chat still, and it's 12 now. I'm gonna feel this in the morning, but we are going to do every comment, but we're going to try and get through them now so we catch up in the next sort of 20 minutes if we can with them. So CD, we're going to start off then. We're going to power through these. Is Will Ospreay still in the Don Callis family? Commentary acts says that he is and acts like a babyface, but he never appears with them. AEW does this a lot. To my knowledge, Will Ospreay is not. He is requested to not be with the Don Callis family and so that he can't ride with them, but obviously still good friends with Carl Fletcher. And I think that's where the connection is still made with it. And when he does see Don backstage, there seems to be a mutual respect. There hasn't been a full-on turn between the two as of yet. They still collaborate in respect, but they don't do their work together.
Factions don't exist in AEW to me because everyone seems to chop and change every 5 minutes.
True story. Is it possible one day if she returns Mandy Rose versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship of WrestleMania? It can be great. If it's possible, then certainly it could be great. So you did actually ask me off camera if Mandy Rose would ever return to WWE, if she would be on the main roster with Toxic Attraction. To answer that, I don't think she'd be with Toxic Attraction, but I think she would have a similar gimmick.
I think that she's made her leaving WWE has just made her a bigger star. So if she was to come back, she would come back as a single star for me as well.
Absolutely. Roger, what would be Tony Khan's finishing move?
Slap to the face.
There you go. There you go. The future endeavor. You'll sign away your contract and fire your ass.
A DDT, because everyone not when DDT was everyone's finisher was a DDT back in the 70s or 60s.
There you go. Nation says, didn't AEW try to have Saraya, Tony Storm, Ruby Soho as the outside faction, as the outcast? That didn't work out pretty well. No, it didn't really work out well, unfortunately. And it had potential. Unfortunately, it just wasn't booked that great at the time.
AEW's women division booking.
It was. It's got better this year, though, which is always good to see. Which wrestler got you into pro wrestling? For Ray, it was Hulk Hogan. Who would be the one for you?
Ultimate Warrior.
Indeed, for me was Bret the Hitman Hart to start things off, and Tatanka. And then closely followed by Shawn Michaels. But yeah, Bret Hart would take the answer. Joe Testore is good, but he needs to learn the name of the moves. He called Ilya Dragunov's finisher the running shoulder. Yeah, he's getting some of the moves wrong. Yeah, it's not,
It's meant to be a finishing move, and he went, "Oh, it's just a diving shoulder." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's a big critique. Fair enough."
He also called Drew McIntyre the bracelet breaker this past week on Raw.
One of his bad nicknames is going to end up being a best-selling T-shirt. Watch.
I can't wait. Roger says, are we going to see Drew versus Wade Barrett? It was interesting that on Raw because they really got to, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, I'd love to see Wade Barrett get back in the ring. I think, honestly, I think he's one guy that they should have put the World Championship on back in the day.
I totally agree with that as well. PS says also that you're damn right, Samantha Irvin is one of the greatest ring announcers ever, and I agree with that comment as well. John Cena versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 41 makes sense. It's sports entertainer versus professional wrestler, total opposites. Would you rather see John Cena become a 17-time world champion or a Grand Slam champion? I would take the Grand Slam champion personally.
17-time. There's multiple Grand Slam champions. There's no 17-time world champion.
I just want to see both. Can I have both? Yeah, I'll take the Grand Slam.
Are we booking John Cena like it's 2005 again? 2007? Do you know what I mean?
Weirdly, you forget. You do forget. You should never forget, but you know. So we're very sorry to hear that you're freezing cold, Roger, but I hope you're doing well. And thank you for watching the show. Hopefully, we're keeping you warm with our hot takes. CD says NXT is having Roxanne Perez lose to Julia, Stephanie Vecchia, and Delta. Literally, wasn't it? She has the record of she's second for most NXT takeover events or special events, and also second in wins. And like, obviously, it's like, I'm coming for that. And it's like, you're going to get the appearances, obviously, by taking on these 3, but your win record is finished because you're going to lose to these 3 over the next 3 shows.
Yeah, do it. Wait, look, that's her leaving present for NXT that she puts over these 3 stars.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, to be fair, then the division is established, and I think from that point onwards, then it can be a case that those 3 can carry the division along with the women that are in the mid card trying to build themselves up to the main event. NXT Women's Division has got a hell of a bright future. And I think Roxanne Perez, it's time to get her to the main roster, in my personal opinion. Roger says Natalia's looking good. He's happy to have her back. PS says John Cena, for me, needs to win the Intercontinental Championship in his farewell tour and become a Grand Slam champion. To go to TNA, PS says Obafemi, honestly, he wants to see the same as you. CD would like to see PCO and Thea Howe have a backstage interaction.
Halloween Havoc is around the corner.
It is around. It would make sense. It'd make a lot of sense. And Obafemi versus PCO is the only one I have in mind, says Pierre as well. It was a great shout indeed. C Nation says, I would like to see Seth and Rollins get the tag team championships over on SmackDown at one point. That's the only title he hasn't held on the main roster, which I believe at this point would be the WWE Tag Team Championship. So it sounds champion.
Jason Jordan though at one point, or is that? Oh, is it the world one? He's talking about.
Which now is the World Tag Team Championships. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha.
He's almost there. PS says, do you think one day Charlotte will be like her father, 16-time champion, and becomes a 20-time world champion? I think she is probably the most likely to break Ric Flair's record of everybody.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it'll be a major statement as well that a woman has beaten Ric Flair's record reign.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. That's perfectly made that point there. Do you think Liv Morgan will be named number 1 by the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine for the women's? Honestly, I would say no if I had to be frank. Yeah, I think Rhea Ripley as well. Despite the fact that she's been out for a bit of time, she dominated this last sort of 12 months. So I find even with her absence, she still has been the number 1. I find it hard to look past it. I think Toni Storm may take the number 2 spot as well.
Yeah, Toni Storm 2. And then 3 is probably a good shout for Liv. Then I'm trying to think of anyone else. Like Jade and Bianca will probably be, I'd say maybe low 9 and 10 maybe. But they've had great runs. Bianca had come off a run as world champion. She's now a tag team champion. So she might even be slightly. No, I don't. Maybe Jade doesn't even make the top 10, to be honest, just as a tag team champion. So yeah, but Bianca definitely makes it.
I mean, when you got the likes of Jordynne Grace, you've got Roxanne Perez as well, because you're taking another
Jordynne Grace into consideration. Top 5.
Stardom as well was going to have some big names that were going now. I don't really follow Stardom too much.
Many.
But, they usually dominate that list as well. So I don't see Liv being number 1, sadly, but I think she'll be in the top 10. I will say that. I think Liv Morgan for the top 10 for it, but obviously we're not even talking about Becky Lynch either, who's a name that would be definitely imagined around that. We're getting excited.
Do you know what? I'd hate to be the guy that puts that list together, because man, you're gonna get ridiculed for it either way.
You can't win. It's literally cannot win. It says, PS says, Ring of Honor is not the greatest company it used to be. Agreed. It's not as strength. It's now NXT of AEW, which pretty much means it's lower than Rampage. Celia says, we will continue to do regular content. Don't worry, we're not doing the clickbaity stuff. We are real, and we will continue to be real to be here, CD. But I'll give you a bit of the channel update, because I'll forget about it if I don't mention it now. So I'll do the channel update. Like the video if you're enjoying it, by the way. This is a good time to do so. But for the channel update, channel memberships is now available on YouTube. Now, it does come with a price to do so. Feel free to go and check it out if you're interested, but there will be extra perks for people that are interested in doing that. For example, you will get access to videos earlier, particularly if they're not live, obviously. You will get special live videos that will be just for you, just like this format. We'll do Q&As and stuff like that, and nothing will be off limits. We can do whatever you want. You will have a lot of decisions when it comes as well to what we'll do with retros, with watch-alongs and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what the channel membership will give you that ability to have, and there will be members-only videos. So if it's something you're interested in, go and check it out. I'm not going to push it on you every single video, but it's there if you're interested in doing it. Of course, it helps the channel out greatly, and it can help us get to the next level, because that's now what trying to do with the channel is trying to get this as far forward as possible. So thank you for allowing me to bore you for the last 30 seconds. We'll now go back to your questions.
It means in the members only ones we can start swearing and we can really go like Netflix WWE style.
And to be fair, he's not wrong. Like I said, it will be nothing's off limits. So if you're interested in it,
you don't realize how much I have to I curse. Every other word out of my mouth is normally a curse. So coming on here and the fact that I say like one curse word like a show is like really hard for me.
There's actually a swear jar off camera that you've not seen, and that's there waiting just in case. Kicking Williams says, should Jon Moxley be the one to take the AEW World Championship from Bryan Danielson, which would get even more heat on Moxley after turning on him at this moment? Because now I don't know the situation with Swerve because of after the cage match, what's going to be the deal with that? It feels like that won't be finished either, in my opinion. I think that Moxley would be the right person here. Like I say, they're taking from Bryan Danielson, all in the name of Shane McMahon, because Shane used to work with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown back in the day. He's not happy with Bryan Danielson. So, yeah, they're going to get rid of Bryan Danielson, and Moxley's going to be the guy to take that title.
Shane McMahon, your next AEW World Champion when he beats Bryan Danielson and becomes World Champion.
The best in the world. Sid wants to see Sheamus have banger after banger matches. You're in luck, my friend. I think he's going to continue to do those on a regular basis moving forward. Has the ship sailed on Montez for being a singles wrestler for WWE and going after singles gold? I don't think so. I think, Leo, I think there's still an opportunity for that to be there in the future.
Yeah, I think if you, same as what I was saying earlier, it's creative, man. Give him a good storyline, it can still work. He has the ability, he has the mic work, he has the presentation to be a great single star. But at the minute, I just need to be on TV and winning tag team titles at the minute. I just need to start elevating their brand. I think the whole Bobby Lashley even thing has really hindered them, unfortunately.
Absolutely, yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely, certainly. The whole thing with the Street Profits recently has just been a shame to see, really, and I really want to see them come back to prominence now.
Even BFAB as well, like BFAB is just so lucked out. You got brought up to the roster with oh my god, what was the name of that faction?
Hit Row,
yeah, that was it. Hit Row, I thought of it then. Gets released like 4 weeks later, then comes back, gets put into a really poor version of Hit Row again. That doesn't do well. Then gets put in with Bobby Lashley, and you're like, finally, like she's gonna be prominent on TV and do some stuff, and then Bobby Lashley and MVP leave.
Yeah, I want to see her do better stuff. I like BFAB. I think she's got a role to play in WWE. Yeah. CD says John Cena that deserves to be a Grand Slam champion, but do not forget about Sheamus either. We will not forget about Sheamus. Banger off the banger.
John Cena for the RC title.
The clickbaiter, apparently, allegedly, Seaview Entertainment. We're giving you a plug, Seaview, if you're watching. Apparently, he was saying a lot about CM Punk will return in 2018. Was close, wasn't it? It was 2021. So it's only 3 years out.
Everyone was saying that every year from the day he left.
Yeah, pretty much. My first Q&A video was actually asking when would CM Punk return, and at the time I was like, never. I was wrong. Sid says I'm loving my Will Ospreay Brov t-shirt. We're loving it as well. Love a Brov t-shirt.
It's bad enough I say it. I can't justify buying a t-shirt with a word on it as well.
I mean, I only say it when Ospreay does it. That's the only time I do it. Rollins hasn't had a lot of matches this year, but he's still in the top 10. That's crazy. To be fair, he has missed a lot of action this year.
Yes, but he's also been prominent in storylines, and he was world champion. And again, that matters.
It does, yeah, I guess, yeah. Tony Khan finishes with the Meltzer driver since he loves having Dave 5-star ratings and more. Loving your work, Pierre. That's a good shout indeed.
Good shout.
Mandy Rose is making more than $1 million a month. Not jealous at all. Zane says, I love how Santino Marella said some of the TNA wrestlers' names in TNA is funny. Yeah, he's very comedic and very good with the way he does his stuff. Do you like him as the director of authority, the DOA? Yeah, I'm fine with it. He adds his own flavor to the role. It's something different. So yeah.
TNA are actually, I like TNA and the fact that a lot of their authority figures have always been wrestlers, and I've always liked that about TNA. Sting, Hogan, Dixie Carr. I just always thought that their authority characters were always just really entertaining.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Sister Jordynne Grace will be the #1 female wrestler. Yeah, I mean, she's certainly within a shout of doing so. Got a lot of wins there at this time. He says his friend named Sid is Johnny Morrison, or Johnny Moontown, sorry. What a great name. It is a great name, Johnny Moontown. Love to see it. He's welcome to these streams anytime. Would you like to see Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson? Absolutely.
Yep. Well, maybe one, but even in the tag team sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully, you never know.
We'll have to wait and see. C Nation Dog says Triple H ain't the best of booking factions. The Pride, Final Testament, Pure Fusion Collective, they have all failed. If you're not in the Bloodline or the Judgment Day, then your faction isn't doing good. Harsh, but some truth to that.
Yeah, but like I said, I think the more important thing is just keeping people on TV. If this was Vince, none of these factions would exist, and we'd all be sitting there every week going, "Where's this person? Where's that person?" So, dude, at least they're on TV. I can't ask for more than that at the minute.
Absolutely. And to be fair, you can only book so many people high up the card at once, I guess. So, especially in factions and stuff. And like you say, it gives everyone that TV time. And this will be the last one we'll take from kicking in with Leo. Should Ricochet defeat Will Ospreay? Second to last one. Should Ricochet defeat Will Ospreay to win the AEW International Championship by turning heel in the process? I feel like they've planted seeds for this during All Out. I say yes, 100 million%.
Yeah, I already feel like he's coming as a heel. I just genuinely want to see an unhinged Ricochet match now because, like I said to you before in previous streams, I've seen the stuff he was doing before WWE, which was insane, and then like WWE just apparently had this PG-13 version of Ricochet because he just wasn't doing half the stuff that he's done before. So, I'm just looking more forward to the match at the minute than anything else.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm buzzing for the match, but I think that Ospreay has been keen for the world to see the Ricochet that he knows. And I think he'll go, dare I say, pun intended, he'll go all out to make sure that happens. So
6 stars already.
I wouldn't be surprised for Ricochet to get a big star name next to the match with it. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Ricochet walk away with that title because then Ospreay would feel the job is done, in my personal opinion. Leo goes on to say, how do you feel about Raw going back to 3 hours when they go to Netflix in January? I mean, I've lived with it for the last 12 years. I can live with it for a few more, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how the product's produced and like if they're going to do commercial breaks and stuff, or if it's generally just going to be 3 hours of wrestling with picture-in-picture commercials.
Have to see how it will go. PS says Damage Control was a success in the beginning, but now it's starting to fall. Injuries haven't helped. Oscar's out as well, so with Dakota Kai. So currently it's just Io and Kairi. So yeah,
probably the most yo-yo faction in wrestling, Damage Control. They were liked when they first came out, then they weren't liked, then they were liked again, and now they're not liked again.
It seems to be that way. Will we see Toni Storm versus Wendy Richter? Unfortunately, I think that is not going to happen. I believe Wendy Richter is under WWE Legends contract, so I don't think we're getting that anytime soon.
You'd love to see it, though.
We'd love to see it. We'd love to see it happen. As we would like to see Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. That was the top topic and top question that came in on this video here today. But thank you, everyone that's been involved on this video. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. All that good stuff really helps us here on YouTube. And of course, thank you to everyone that's helped and support the channel because we got to 2,500 subscribers. The road to 3K begins here. Big thank you to everyone that's been involved with your questions. You've been keeping us busy for the best part of an hour and 41 minutes. And a big thank you to the man next to me as well, NX Steve, who has been getting involved with your questions as well and giving some awesome answers and intake and insight as always.
Typical last sentence of the show, and I'm having a cough. Dude, always a pleasure, man. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, I'll be back here tomorrow anyway for the NXT Fatal 4-Way review. So, yeah, come back tomorrow and join us again.
That is where we'll be. This time tomorrow, we'll be doing NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. You voted for this show, so we will be doing that show, as of course, in the community section. So, yeah, we're going back to doing this one. It's also the 10-year anniversary of that show as well, to the day. So, it's also a nice little fun beat with that as well. Just before we go, a couple of very kind comments that's just come in before we finish up. Thank you, CD, always with the support there. Says great stream, and Sid as well saying top quality show. And one thing I will say, now that we are calming down a little bit when it comes to the premium live events and stuff, we're getting to that time of year, looking to try and bring the Q&A back once a week. It has been a bit difficult over this last little period, so we'll try and bring it back once a week now. Definitely once a fortnight, so don't worry. If you like your Q&As, still going to be a part of it as well. I know I mentioned channel memberships earlier, but it's still going to be on the regular stuff as well.
And that's what happens when WWE put a premium live event on every 3 weeks. It doesn't help.
No, it's made it very difficult, but there's a bit more space now. We have more time to breathe and to give you the content that you used to having. But I hope you've all enjoyed it. Thank you all for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way. All the best. Take care.